Welcome to Expat Hoops, where we talk to basketball players who have played pro careers outside of the U.S. Today, we talk to former Belmont University player Alex Renfroe, who has played all across Europe and is currently in Spain. But before we get into it with Alex, I want to remind you that we have a new permanent home, our website, expathoops.com. For our audio podcast, you can find us on outlets like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Tell your friends. But now, let's get into it with our guest today as he joins us today from Burgos, Spain. Welcome to the pod, Alex.
Hey man, what's up, Andy? Thank you for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for sitting down with us. We've been talking a little bit for a while now, and definitely thank you for coming on the pod. We were talking a little bit off the pod about your background in school. You're somebody that started at an NAIA school and wound up transferring to Belmont. But as we were talking off the pod, schools almost kind of become a little bit irrelevant, and that overseas basketball at all different levels, whether it's, the lower level leagues or, all the way up to like EuroLeague, which is basically like the best league outside of the NBA in the world. You get this weird collection of schools where sometimes you'll see some people like, oh, they went to, a Power Five or, a mid-major such as Belmont. But you'll also see some NIAI presence or Division II or Division III. If we could kind of go back to before we were recording and kind of talk a little bit about that, just to kind of continue that conversation about like what you've seen and kind of what your observation of that has been.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's always pretty interesting. Of course, I went to a NAIA school for 2 years, and I transferred to Belmont for my last 2 years, which is, Belmont when I was there in 2007. They had just made it to the NCAA tournament for the first time. So it was a much different program than it is now. It's still a mid-major, but when I first got there, man, it was basically brand new mid-major. I don't think anybody would have had them on their radars professionally. And like I said, I don't think it was a worldwide, I don't think it was a US-wide like known name. They'd only made it to the tournament just the year prior to me getting there. So that was the first time they made it to the tournament. So, I don't think it was a very popular mid-major that people would name drop. So I went to a small school, but man, of my teammates, man, you really just never know. I've seen some guys from the biggest schools, the North Carolinas, the Dukes. I've seen those guys, the McDonald's All-Americans, and then I've seen guys from Division III schools, Division II schools, Division III schools that I myself had never even heard of. But I think if I was to say, how much name of your college mattered overseas, me personally, I wouldn't say it mattered very much. That's just my personal opinion. I've often kind of, spoke with my wife about it before as to what would have been better if I would have stayed at my NAIA school and kind of broke records there, or transferring to Belmont, just to kind of weigh it out as to what would have carried more weight. And if I'm being honest, I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. I don't think it would have made that much of a difference, overseas wise. Now I think in the States, that would have made a difference if I would have been going to the NBA or something like that. I think it would have made a very big difference. But just in Europe, I don't think it would have made a big difference.
And racking up the NIAI records, you did some of that at Belmont too. You were Atlantic Sun Player of the Year your senior year, first team All Atlantic Sun, AP honorable mention. So you definitely had some accolades coming out of college. So one of the things we like to get into with our guests is at what point did you actually start thinking to yourself, okay, becoming a professional, whether it's home or abroad, is an actual thing that could happen for me? And what did that process look like for you?
Man, I really didn't know, man. I always wanted to play I always wanted to play basketball professionally. You know, honestly, I had no idea about anything outside of the US. I had no idea. So kind of when I was coming up, when I was younger, it was kind of like it was either the NBA or it was nothing. We didn't have the knowledge of all the European leagues. I didn't have any guys that were around me that were telling me, "Oh, well, you can play." It's not only the NBA out there. So, like I said, when I was younger, it was the NBA or it was nothing. So, as I'm playing, I'm hopeful that I can get some NBA look or something like that. But um, that didn't seem very realistic to me. So when my college career was kind of coming to an end, it was really just like a dream, man. That man, I want to keep playing, but like I said, it was a dream because I didn't think that the NBA was realistic. Um, and little did I know, uh, it's not NBA or bust. There's plenty of opportunities outside of that. Plenty of great opportunities outside of that. So I really didn't know until like my season had concluded and I got a call from an agent. I had no idea. I got a call from an agent and he started talking about overseas opportunities and workouts and stuff, and it was like, oh, like I didn't think about all this. I didn't think all this was possible. But for sure, if there's an opportunity, yes, I would like to explore that and and see where that takes me.
Um, but you start out in Latvia. Take us through the actual process of when you were finding an agent, signing on to an agent, and your first job.
Okay. My uh my agency, the agency that I signed with out of college was the basically the basically the first agency that contacted me outside of people that I knew. Um, I had someone who went to school with me who had referred me to a guy. I think that he also went to Belmont some years before me, who was who had got into being an agent, and we talked a little bit. But this the agency that I ended up signing with was the first agency that I didn't have any connections to, and it was basically the first first person they called the first time we talked. It was kind of like okay, because I didn't have people knocking my door down, trying to get in touch with me or anything like that. So after speaking with them, I ended up signing with them, and you know, great work on their part, and maybe some luck also. I was very fortunate that I signed with VEF Riga right out of college in Latvia. We got lucky because in Riga there was another team called ASK Riga, and before I got overseas, I mean it's been a long time, so I may be saying some things wrong here, but I'm pretty sure they were EuroLeague. They were a pretty popular club in that area. They were EuroLeague. I heard they had a very good budget, and I think this was the first year that they folded, right? I believe they folded. And this VEF Riga, they had some history, but I guess the ASK Riga had kind of taken over the scene. So when they folded, VEF Riga kind of, I don't know how it works, but if they kind of buy their rights, buy their spot or whatever. So my team had Euro Cup qualifications, which was huge, which was huge for me coming out of college and it being my first year. Um, we had a young team, so the ball was in my hands. I was playing all game, and literally we played, man, probably 80 games that season. We were playing in the Baltic League. We were playing in the first year, the very first year of the VTB League. It was like a trial year. So we were playing in that. We were playing in the Latvian League. And also we were playing Euro Cup qualifications, which we ended up losing. So we were playing Euro Challenge, FIBA Euro Challenge. So man, we were playing, man, 3 times a week, man. We were just constantly playing games. Oh, just over and over and over. It was exhausting, but it was perfect for my first year. I got a lot of experience in a short amount of time. I got to play a lot of big budgeted teams. It was perfect, man. It was perfect. So credit to my agent, for the work he put in to get that job, or the luck he had on his side. I don't know. But hats off to him for being able to put me in that spot and for me to be able to play there.
So that you mentioned the Baltic League, you were the MVP that year. Take us through what the Baltic League is like in terms of play style, physical league, tactical league. What kind of league are we talking about?
My first year, the Baltic League, it had the Tuvas Ritas and Zalgiris were both in there. They were both EuroLeague at the time. It was those two teams. Those two teams were the favorite. Of course, they were the favorite. Then outside of them, we had some. Ventspils, us. Some Estonian teams, some other Latvian teams, and was it a Polish team there? I'm trying to think if it was a Polish team there. I can't remember that part, but
you're forgiven. It's a decade ago.
I appreciate it. But league-wise, man, for me, it was mind-blowing to me because I didn't realize that guys were so athletic. Like my first year in that area, it was like, man, those guys were skilled. Those guys were athletic. Those teams with that Russian background, man, those guys were fighters. They were tough. Those Lithuanian guys are very skilled, shooters and, very athletic. Those Latvian guys also. Man, it was I think it was a great league for me to be in my first year. I can't tell you what the league kind of hangs its hat on, but just to have 2 EuroLeague teams in there with you was a very big deal. Their budgets were crazy then. I don't know how they are compared to now, but their budgets were crazy. I remember Zalgiris had 3 or 4 Americans that were big time names. Right, were big time names. They had those Lithuanian guys that were big time names. So I enjoyed the league. To be able to be named the MVP of that league was huge for me. I think huge for me, huge for my career, and especially just to start off like that. I think it really gave me some opportunities that I wouldn't have had. Not that. Had that opportunity not been there.
So your next opportunity is in Croatia with a pretty notable club. Take us through how that came to be and what your next year in Croatia was like.
Oh, so my second year went to Croatia. I played for KK Zagreb, which actually is I think maybe they're folded now, maybe they're 3rd division or something like that now. But I played for them my second year, and they had some history, but in Croatia back then it was Sabona, right? Sabona was the EuroLeague team. Sabona was the team you were trying to beat or you wanted to beat, and then there was Zadar and also Cedevita. So coming into that year, like we were the 4th team, maybe 5th team, maybe lower than that, expectation wise for Croatia. But I think they had somehow found some sponsors to where they had a little bit more money than they usually did, and they decided that they were going to put together a team and try to win Croatia. Not only win Croatia, but try to be competitive in the Adriatic League, the ABA League at now, but it was the Adriatic League at the time. So. Which in that league, Partizan was the favorite. So Partizan and Sabona were fighting for that. They were the 2 favorites, but we put together a team, and in the Adriatic League, I think we ended up finishing fifth, maybe like a tiebreaker or something. We finished fifth, so we missed the Final Four of that league. But in Croatia, we ended up winning the whole. We won the Croatian league, which was big, which was big because, like I said, Cedevita that year was, I think they were Final Four of the Euro Cup, and I think they had a good chance to win. I think they may have lost in the finals. I'm not really sure. It's been a long time, but they were Final Four of Euro Cup. Sabona was EuroLeague. So for us to come in and win the Croatian league was a big deal. And at that time, it was when you won Croatia, you were EuroLeague the next year. So for us to win the Croatian league was a big time accomplishment.
And so as far as, I think that one of the things that we've kind of talked about this a little bit on the pod, but if you could kind of hit on a little bit in terms of when you're throwing things out like EuroLeague and Euro Cup, it's a little bit different here in America where you've got, pretty much the NBA and, G League is not, a promotion or relegation or anything like that. If you could kind of speak to that, and also what it does for your resume to say, even if you don't necessarily stay with the same club, but if you're with a club that got somebody to EuroLeague, what that actually does for you personally as well.
Okay. Well, EuroLeague is the top league in Europe. European teams from different countries. It's the first league. It's the biggest league. It's the team with the best teams, most historic teams, the bigger budgets. So that's always the goal. If you want to be at the top of Europe, you want to be playing EuroLeague. So teams are fighting for that right. Back then, it's a little bit different now, but back then teams were fighting for that right and the right to, and if you won your country's championship, they gave you the right to play to be able to compete EuroLeague, which is the goal for everyone. So to be able to be on the team that wins the championship and have a right for your team to automatically be EuroLeague or qualify for EuroLeague, that's a big time accomplishment, especially for a team that hasn't done it. When you can get the EuroLeague stamp on your name, like I said about the NBA, if you can have the NBA stamp on your name and you come and you go outside of the NBA, the NBA is viewed as the top league, so EuroLeague is viewed as the second best league. So if you have that league stamped on by your name, it will open the door for everywhere else in Europe. Maybe even open that door for the NBA.
Yeah. And there actually have been several players that have gone from EuroLeague back and forth, whether it's, Mike James is somebody recently that did it with the Nets, and he was in, I think, Moscow last year, now with Monaco, with Will, actually, which we'll get into in a little bit. But absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely a league that, deserves a lot of attention worldwide. I think maybe that it really should probably here as well, which is why I asked the question.
Right. I think people are now, now kind of starting to kind of be more in touch with it. But when I first came overseas, man, people in the States had no idea. I didn't either. Honestly, I didn't either. But, people had no idea. I was telling people that, I'm playing in Croatia or I'm playing in Latvia, and they're like, where's that? Is that in France? Or it's like, no, it's not. But, do you play against this so-and-so who plays in, I heard he plays in Portugal. Have you played against him? And it's like, man, like these are, totally different countries, man. Like, why would I ever play against, like it's just, like it's the States, like you ever played against a team from Georgia? If you're in Tennessee, it's like, yeah, that might happen. But, people had no idea. So,
yeah.
So I understand that. But, people are becoming more and more in touch with it now. It's more familiar and, people are watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. But for you, having gotten a team into EuroLeague, help getting them into EuroLeague, your next stop is going to be in Italy. Can you kind of comment in terms of Italy's, another one of those top leagues? Could you kind of comment a little bit about what the demand was like for your services at that point in time, given the fact that you'd had a really highly successful league in Croatia the year prior?
First off, let me say I was sick. After that year because we worked hard, we won it. We got to be EuroLeague next year. And, you know, from what I knew, you know, I had talked to the, you know, like the president and vice president before I left after we won the championship, and, you know, they were going to bring me back, you know, so I was excited. You know, I was very excited. It was like, oh yes, here we go. You know, I get to play EuroLeague my 3rd year in, I get to be EuroLeague, and something happened. I don't know what happened. You know, I always kind of think about, you know, I would have loved to know what really happened behind the scenes as to why that didn't happen. Because you say, man, if you talk to the president and the vice president and they say you're their guy, you know, what the hell could happen for that to no longer be the case in a week, you know? And, you know, I still kind of have sour feelings about that. You know, but it is what it is, and, you know, things happen. So, you know, I understand that, and a lot of things have happened to me over the years, but, you know, so I can take it in stride and kind of, you know, laugh about it now. But, you know, at the time, you know, it really kind of, you know, it broke me down, man. It really bothered me, man. And, you know, for a long time, I had some ill feelings towards some people about that. But, you know, so after that, I actually ended up being it was the second league of Italy. It was the second league of Italy. And, you know, basically I went there because, you know, like the first league teams of Italy were offering me like half the money, which was crazy to me. I didn't understand it, but, the first league teams would offer me half of the money that this second league team offered me. And the second league team, they wanted to move to the first league. So I guess they were trying to put together a team that could get them there. And, you know, it sounded good to me. So, you know, I signed there.
So that's actually really interesting. And one of the things that's good is that in a couple of years, you're going to wind up in EuroLeague anyway in your career. But definitely would understand why you'd be upset. And that's unfortunately something that sometimes happens in the overseas game, as you're well aware. You'll be told one thing, something will change in a matter of days, weeks, but not very long.
You can't imagine. You can't imagine.
And that's part of the reason why this podcast works, in my opinion, is because we get these stories of, well, I was told I was, you know, their guy, blah, blah, blah. Next week later, all of a sudden I couldn't get a return phone call, and then I'm going down a league.
You are talking to the right person, man, because I got a lot of that. I have a lot of that.
Don't hold back, for sure. But the next spot you're in, so you're in Italy, and then this is going to be the next season is the first time you're in Spain. You're in Spain, I think. This might be the 5th or 6th time now. I think you've been in Spain.
I think this is the 5th team that I've been on in Spain.
Can't ask for a better country really to go to other than maybe like say Italy, but Spain is.
Hey man, I love Spain. I think Spain is the best fit for me. I wish that I could have touched Spain earlier, and, you know, I wish I could have kind of done all my work in Spain, man. I like being in Spain. I love the league. The league is, you know, more fit for me and my skill set. You know, and I just enjoy playing it, man. It's competitive. Every game is competitive. High IQ, you know, very skilled. Everybody can do everything, you know, and, you know, like, you can't leave anybody open. You can't, you know, take away all the shots from it. I mean, it's just a very competitive league, man. I think everybody here is very skilled and very well-rounded.
And I think of the European leagues, I'm trying to recall, I mean, outside when you're breaking things down in terms of like EuroLeague and Euro Cup, I think if you're talking about national leagues, I think Spain is still considered to be the best in the world outside of, like, say, obviously the US with an NBA and everything like that. But I think that Spain is still top dog, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe I would say so. Basketball wise, I would say so. Yes. I think when some people are arguing, they usually say something about money wise, they might pick somewhere else. But basketball wise, I think Spain is still number one. And I believe that most people would agree with that.
Yep. And so this is your first, in 2012, 2013, that's your first experience in Spain. Take us through what that experience was like. you know, how that went for you and basically why it would be something that you're like, all right, I'm going to keep coming back here.
Okay, my first year in Spain, man, I had I think when I finished in Italy, I had an offer from a team, and I believe they were EuroLeague at the time. I believe they were EuroLeague or they were Euro Cup. I can't remember exactly which one, but I had an offer from a team, and supposedly it was on the table, and I was waiting on it because I was going there. I was going to sign there. I talked to my wife about it. You know, we were going to sign there. So I'm waiting on the deal. I just keep waiting. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, it'll be done. Waiting. I'm waiting. Next thing I know, I stopped hearing about it. So, you know, I've waited. You know, I've kind of passed up opportunities because I'm waiting on this deal. And somehow it falls through, right? It falls through. So when it finally falls through, it's kind of like, man, you know, like I've passed on other opportunities, you know, now what am I going to get? And the things that I was hearing, you know, I didn't like the deals. So how I ended up getting in Spain my first year was for low money, you know, in a situation of basically of desperation where I didn't have a job and I didn't want to be jobless with the season starting, right? So I signed for low money, you know, on a team that, you know, where I would say their expectations weren't too high. But, you know, I was grateful to have them because I didn't have a job.
One of the things I think was interesting about your career so far is it pretty much sounds like it started off at a fairly high level, especially for somebody just starting out, and it kind of went down a little bit. And it's not necessarily because of performance on the floor. It just kind of went down before it went back up, as we're going to get to. Would you say that's fair?
I think it depends on what you say, because the money was going up. Money was going up. You know, the money was going up. And at that time, it was like, hey, man, I'm trying to make some money. So the money was going up. You know, I was bouncing around and the leagues were, you know, I don't know what you would say about the league. I think the Italian second division, it looked bad coming off a championship in Croatia to where your team is going to be EuroLeague the next year. Like it looked bad, but it was like my money went up, you know, and like I said, all of the first league teams that were offering me, they were offering me half. So it was like, man, you know, do I want to play in the first division of Italy for half the money? I was like, no, not really. You know, not really. So, you know, that was the decision that I made. And, you know, I'm happy about my decision. You know, I don't regret it at all. You know, I don't regret it at all. That Italian team, I helped send them to the first league to where they still are to this day. So, you know, like I don't regret that. And, you know, I understand that some people may say to the team, oh, well, you went down. And it's like, well, you know, maybe I did, but my money went up. And at the time, you know, I was playing basketball to earn a living. Right. So when you come into a situation and you don't know how things work, it's kind of like, man, you grab what you can, you know, you grab what you can grab. And, you know, from all I knew was that, you know, it doesn't matter where you're playing, man. All that matters is the money. And if you play well, you know, I didn't know that. Oh, well, you know, if you play this place, it'll carry more weight than if you play here. Like, I didn't know that, man. I didn't know that.
And that's what I find so interesting about this is what I just said is not necessarily wrong. In terms of, but in terms of it's basically all this is arguable. Like
it's not really wrong. It's not really wrong. It's not really right either.
Exactly.
So it's like, man, you really just like you really just never know. Like after my first year, after the year that I had, I thought for sure, 100%, I'll be in Russia, I'll be in Lithuania, or I'll be right there in that area. I thought for sure I would be. And it was like, for me, I wanted to be, because my first year I played against the two Lithuanian teams were EuroLeague. In the VTB league, I played against all the big Russian teams. And it was like all of those dudes were making crazy money. crazy money. So it's like, man, you know, I'm having a good first year. Oh, I'm gonna be in Russia next year. You know, I'm gonna be in Lithuania next year. And it was like, basketball wise, that's a big deal. You know, basketball wise, that's a very big deal. And, you know, just so happened, I end up crossing Europe and I'm in Croatia. And it's like, man, how that happened, I have no idea. You know, I really think that maybe they saw, maybe they had some Croatian teams in Euro Challenge and they kind of saw what I was doing Euro Challenge and it was like, oh, you know, we're interested. So I think that's maybe how it happened. But man, you really just never know. You never know. Like, you know, I always say that, man, I think that if you play in Spain, I think it carries more weight than playing some other places. You know, I think that. But, you know, what happens if you play in Spain and nobody wants you afterward? It's like, man, you really just never know. And, you know, it's hard to say, but, you know, I think the best thing you can do is pick a situation that you will be happy with after the fact, you know. And when I played Italian second division, I'm happy about that. Was it the best move for my career? You know, I don't know. You know, you could say, well, you could have played for less money and played on a better team, played on a first division team. Yeah. And I could have played bad there also and made less money the next year. So it's like, man, you know, it's hard to say, man. It's hard to say.
All these moving pieces, all these variables.
It's a lot of them, man. So, you know, so we were talking about Spain. So when I got to Spain, you know, I signed there. Like I said, I signed there because I was kind of desperate for a job, you know, because I didn't have one and I knew season was starting soon and I didn't want to be without. So, you know, I took that job offer and, you know, when I got there, you know, immediately, like I love playing basketball in Spain. You know, I like the style of play, you know, the way things are happening, you know, like I liked it, man. My first official game was against Barcelona and we won. We beat Barcelona. We started the season off 1-0 against Barcelona in Barcelona. So it was like, man, like, this is perfect. Like, that was the best team I had played against in my career. That was the best team I had played against, Barcelona. We beat them. It's like, man, it's going to be a good year.
And actually,
like, it's going to be a great year.
I'm going to see if that year was the year Barcelona had Shane Lawal, because he's one of our friends of the pod.
Shane wasn't there.
Okay.
Shane may have come
2015 to 2017. Yep.
So, you know, because Shane was there, Shane's second year, I was there also. So, you know, but this year they had the Pete Michael, Lorbeck, of course, Navarro, Sada. It was a lot of guys there, and it was like, man, this is big time. This is big time. Like, we won that game. I said, oh, we're gonna have a good year, man. Like, this is gonna be very good for me. Okay, the next 2 or 3 games we got beat by like 30 or 40, but but they had the schedule kind of stacked against us. We started off at Barcelona. I think we came back home and we had Madrid. Then the next game we played Malaga. It was like, man, we started the season off with 3 EuroLeague teams, and it was like, man, this is not fair. So we started off 1-0. Next thing I knew, we were like 1-5. It was like, whoo. Like, man, this is Spain. This is tough. This is tough. You know, so you know, after being there, it was like, man, you know, immediately I was like, I love basketball in Spain. So if I can, you know, I would like to play in Spain. And sure enough, that didn't happen. I ended up leaving there and going to Germany. And, you know, like my team had some money problem. We had some financial problems to where in I think it might have been December, maybe January, you know, maybe December. They just stopped paying. They didn't have the money. And it was like, you know, I'm still green from being home and saying, oh, well, you know, they'll give it to me. And it's like, man, no, they won't. No, they won't.
Still waiting on it.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting. Man, next thing I know, man, it's 3 months. And it's like, oh, like, I gotta go. I gotta go because now I see that, man. I'm not gonna get the money, man. So unfortunately, it didn't work out financially, and I ended up having to leave Spain, and
But
another part of the journey.
you go to Germany for the first time though. So take us through what that was like. Not only in terms of trying to catch on with somebody in the, I don't want to say the middle of the season, but definitely in a season, where somebody's not paying, and take us through what that was like and how you landed the deal in Germany.
Perfect. It was perfect. I left Spain. Just so happened that Bamberg was on the market for a point guard because their point guard John was he had like some problems with his knees. He had just had like a procedure on one of his knees, and so they were like, he's going to be out for some time. They were EuroLeague. They were playing EuroLeague, and they were like, we need a point guard. So my situation, it happened to work out perfectly. So I'm trying my best to get out of Spain because I need to be. When they called me, it was like they were at the deadline of signing new players. It's like, so we got to sign you like immediately, or we're not going to be able to. It was like, so I had to find a way to get out of my contract, even though they weren't paying me. I had to find a way to get out of my contract in Spain, so I could go to Germany and go to Bamberg. And me, as soon as they called, I looked up the team. I did my research. It was like, oh, I need to go. I need to, that's a good spot for me to be. So it worked out. I can't remember at this time, I was still young. I was still kind of new to Europe. I was still trying to figure out the way things worked. And, I can't remember exactly what my contract said back at that time, but was I in breach of contract already because they hadn't paid me in 3 months? Probably so. But like I said, I can't tell you exactly what my contract said about failure to pay and about being behind and how long they could be behind before they were in breach of my contract. So I don't know. But basically, for me to leave, I had to sign some paperwork that kind of forfeited the money they owed me, which
this is the part that fascinates me because I'm, like it's anybody that might listen to the pod semi-regularly. I'm a lawyer in my day job, and I do, mostly family law, which is divorce and child custody and everything. But, there's a lot of contract work and there is some level of knowledge of contracts too. And, I actually did take a course in law school that was sports law. So in addition to like my normal contracts, torts, things like that, the thing that really gets me here is really trying to wrap my head around exactly what you're saying, that they hadn't been paying you for 2-3 months. And my question before you even mentioned it was going to be, was there an issue getting your release? And that seems crazy to me to ask, because I would just assume, well, they're the party that's in breach. And so this is what gets really, even me as a lawyer, this is still mind-boggling to me about how this all works overseas.
For real, man. For real. And it's like, man, it's like I'm in breach of contract, man. They gonna charge me money to get out of my contract when they're not paying me my contract. It's like, it don't make no sense, right?
And here's the other aspect of it. Even if you legally speaking, they're the ones that are probably in breach first. I think that what they tend to do, or what it sounds like they seem to do, as in when I say they, I mean team owners and management basically, is I think they do kind of rely on the idea that Europe is their home, and for you to pursue them in the courts over there is an advantage for them. And practically speaking, a lot of things you could do that you're like, even here, you're like, legally, I know I have a cause of action, but economically, how much money will it cost me? Is it worth it to do that? And I think that's
how long will it take?
And that's where I think the holdup is, at least from me trying to understand it, a year and a half of doing this pod now, is it seems like that's where it's at. Is it's not necessarily even if these teams are they're legally incorrect in that you can get there eventually, how much will you have to put in to get to that point?
Right. And this situation, man, like I said, now I'm much different than I was then. You know, I've learned, you know, I know what I can do, I know what I can't do, I know the way things work now. But then it was like, man, they had me by the balls, man. So, excuse me for saying that, but they had me by the balls, man. And you know, it was a deadline situation that I had to kind of try to beat. So, and when somebody knows, when a team knows that someone else wants you and there's some time restrictions on it, it's like, the ball is like in their court. It's like, you got to play by these certain rules. And it's like, man, I didn't like it, but it was kind of like, well, this is this is the business side of things.
Right.
It was like, so the way it worked out was that, they made me forfeit the money that I owed, that I was owed, and for me to get my relief, for me to get my immediate release.
But unless something is weird here with what I'm about to ask you, usually the basketball Bundesliga is one of the better leagues in terms of like that they're very pre-regulated and that there's usually the money there and everything like that. So even though you had this problem in Spain, I'm going to guess more than likely the team that wound up taking you on in Germany, there wasn't an issue.
They made everything okay.
Yep. So in some ways,
salute to Bamberg and that management and those coaches that were there. They made everything okay for me. They made everything okay for me. They really took care of me, and I was blessed. I was blessed that that they offered me that opportunity.
And so you weren't in Germany for super duper long period of time, obviously, because it's the end of the season. But what was your experience like playing in Germany on the court and off the court?
Enjoyed it, man, because this is the first year. This is the first year for me. Well, that was the first time for me that I have no problems with my money, have no problems with any situations, didn't have any issues. They were doing everything by the book. My money came on the day it was supposed to come. I didn't have any problems transferring it. I didn't have any problems with my apartment or nothing like that. Everything was taken care of, man. They were professional, very professional, like, man, it was perfect. It was perfect, man. I enjoyed being there. And like I said, I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
And so after that season, you do wind up eventually going to Russia. And so what was that experience like, playing in Russia, finally getting to that spot that you thought you would be in year 2, but now you're about 5 years deep. What was it like playing in Russia?
Man, it was different. It was different. I was playing for a team called Zenit in Siberia. They're east Russia, like far east Russia, all the way out in Siberia, man. And it was big time shock, culture shock, weather, travel, life was different. Life was different, man. Like we had, we didn't have very many games that year because this was the first year that, because like VTB and the Russian league were kind of against each other, and they were kind of fighting for power. And I guess the VTB league ended up kind of winning out. So the Russian league stopped and the VTB league kind of took over. But this was the first year, because before they were playing VTB league and Russian league. So the Russian league stops, the VTB league kind of takes over. So my team we were in the Russian league and the VTB league. So we only play VTB league this year. And in the VTB league, I think it was 20 teams, maybe 18 teams or something like that. And they were in 2 groups. So you play your group home and away. Then you go to playoffs. So I had 18 games, 18 official games. Then we played like in a little Russian Cup or whatever, where we played 4 games and then playoffs, if you made playoffs. So I had 18 official games. It was 18 official games for 10 months. It was ridiculous. we had game like once every 3 weeks we were playing, once every 2.5 weeks. Like we had like 2 huge breaks. It was pretty boring, man. It was pretty boring. It was pretty boring, man. I had a lot of time on my hands. That was a very slow year, man. And with it being so cold outside, it was, man, your apartment was your sanctuary. It was your everything. And it was a lot of time spending there.
So is this a point in time also in Russia that towards the tail end of the season, you wind up going back to Spain? What was the reason to go back to Spain at that point in time?
Oh, okay. I finished my Russian season. That was after my team finished. After my team finished in Russia, we lost in the first round of the playoffs. I got home. It was May. It'd been like May 10th or something like that. May 10th, something like that.
Wikipedia says May 12th, so good memory.
Okay, there you go.
Wikipedia knows all.
I got home early May because we finished our playoffs on the very 1st of May. We finished, and in Spain, they're still in regular season, and I guess they're signing some players. Some teams are signing some players for playoffs or to finish their season. So I ended up going to Spain for 2 regular season games and first round of playoffs. So not very long at all. But it was an opportunity to play for a big time team. And, I was just at home, chilling. So why not?
Yeah. Get to go to Spain too.
Yeah.
Which there are worse things in life.
Right. So, it was a good opportunity for me, for my resume, why not? For the competition, to be on a team like Baskonia, it's big, man. So it was a good opportunity for me. So yeah, I accepted that.
And so one of the things that you're talking about is that it was good for your resume. It led to being on a EuroLeague team. I think was Baskonia actually a EuroLeague team at that time? They're still a EuroLeague team, but I think that they were back then EuroLeague, too.
Yeah, they were EuroLeague then. I don't know how they had finished EuroLeague that year. I don't remember because I got there after. So I had been on the other far end of the world. So man, I wasn't very in touch with things.
Yeah. But you get to go to another EuroLeague team right after that. Actually, something in common with our last guest, Jalen Smith. He plays for Alba Berlin now. That's when you land with Alba. Can you take us through what that's like? And that's really I think that's your first extended period of time actually being in EuroLeague, correct?
Yes. Yeah, that was my first EuroLeague experience. I've been on 2 other teams that were EuroLeague, but I missed EuroLeague because when I got to Bamberg, I couldn't play EuroLeague. Maybe because I missed the deadline, I don't know. But I used to go to the games, but I couldn't play. And then when I went to Baskonia, it was just for the end of the Spanish season because EuroLeague was already over for those guys. So this is my first time playing EuroLeague, and it was amazing. They put together a good team there, and we were competitive. We were very competitive, and we were shocking people. But we had a solid team, man. Our coach knew what he was doing, man, and we were playing well. We played together. We were all very, in sync on the court, and in EuroLeague that showed.
And so this is actually going to be a period of time where you're playing for teams that are in EuroLeague. You go from, like you said, Baskonia, which, you weren't necessarily on the EuroLeague roster at that point in time, even though the team was. Alba is EuroLeague. You go to Bayern next, which is not only, a BBL opponent, Basketball Bundesliga opponent, but is also another one of the heavyweights that's not only in the BBL, but in EuroLeague. What was that transition like going from Alba to Bayern?
It was nice, man. It was nice. At this point, I'm comfortable with Germany. That was my Alba was my second team in Germany, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, I get my money on time. All my situations are taken care of. I don't have to worry about too much because they're doing things by the book. You know exactly what you're going to get, when you're going to get it, how it's going to be. So, I don't have any issues. So, I'm enjoying that part of Germany. So when I got the opportunity to sign with Bayern, it was good, man. I was happy about it. So I accepted that opportunity and I was happy to go there. And, we were EuroLeague. EuroLeague.
And actually, this is going to be a little segment that we'll probably cut out of the regular pod, but 2014 to 2017, you're in EuroLeague. That's the same period of time that Shane was in. You guys wind up being teammates at Barcelona, but if you could compare and contrast things, what were like being against him as an opponent versus eventually being a teammate with him.
See, I didn't play against him.
I thought he was with Dynamo Sassari, and they were in EuroLeague at that point in time.
Because when he was in Sassari, maybe I don't know if I was in Berlin, but this was back then they were doing groups, right?
Okay.
So they had six groups of 14 or 4 groups of 6 teams, something like that. But it wasn't just everybody played everybody at that time. It was 24 teams, and I can't remember how many. I can't remember if it was 6 groups or if it was 4 groups. But everybody wasn't playing everybody. You were playing your group twice. You play your group home and away, and then yes, I think it was 6 teams, 4 groups of 6 teams. You play your group twice, and then the top 4 moved on to the top 16. I think when you got inside the top 16, it was 2 groups of 8. So you play both teams, you play all the teams on your side twice, and then the top 4 from your group and the top 4 from the other group go to the playoffs.
Okay.
So, so I didn't play against Shane. I couldn't tell you who was in my group, I can't tell you who we played against, but I can't tell you what group Shane was in.
See, there you go. I only know the current format. I wasn't even thinking of a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a different format. So, I like this current format better because you get to play against everybody.
Exactly.
But it was a different format, so I didn't get to play against them.
Interesting. Okay, so we'll just probably wind up cutting that part out, but that's good to know. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
So 2016 and 2017, you are at Barcelona. What was it like playing for Barcelona? And at this point in time, you would have been teammates with Shane.
Amazing, man. Amazing. If you're playing basketball in Europe, and you want to progress or do the best you can do, Barcelona that's the place to be. That's one of, I would say one of, I don't know, would I say 3? One of 4, one of 5 teams that it's like, man, if you play for them, you could say you've played for everybody in Europe. You could say you've touched the top. And being able to be a part of that team was amazing, man. I don't want to dish too much dirt because, like I said, I got all the stories, but the way I got to Barcelona was I was in the second year of my deal with Bayern, right? I was in the second year of my deal, and we got a new coach, and I wasn't in the plans. I wasn't in the plans like I was the year before. So I was kind of just sitting there watching the games for the most part. I wasn't playing very much. It's big time frustrating for me. And the Barcelona deal happened because this year they had a whole bunch of injuries. It was injuries they were the injuries, just a crazy amount of injuries, right? And they happened to need a point guard who had a European passport, who was available, right? Because I think they were in the middle of the first round of EuroLeague, and I think it's like a rule where if you can't get another EuroLeague player because he'll have to sit out to the second round or something like that. So, they needed someone who was available to play immediately. And, so I guess they were looking at Euro Cup teams. And, like we were Euro Cup that year in Bayern. We were Euro Cup. And, I had a European passport and I wasn't playing. So, I was a perfect kind of option because I matched all the criteria. I was available and, I could get out of my contract because I wasn't playing. So that's how the Barcelona deal happened. Now I had played against Barcelona the year before, 2 years before. I played against them, so I would say that they were familiar with me also. But that's how that Barcelona deal happened.
You go to Gala the next year. That's another team that's pretty well known in overseas basketball. What was that experience like for you there?
That was a tough year. That was a very tough year. I think we had a talented team, a talented roster, but it didn't work out, man. It wasn't working out. We struggled that year. It was, it was a big disaster. We didn't, and we weren't close to fulfilling expectations at all. And, it was a bad year basketball wise.
Anything in particular that you want to hit on in terms of why it was bad?
See, hey man, it happens. Sometimes it happens, man. We're playing basketball, man. I always like to tell people that, I mean, we're playing basketball. Nobody starts off the year and say, hey, we're signing all these guys. We're choosing to be last. Like nobody starts like that, man. Everybody thinks they're signing a roster that's gonna put you in a position to play, not to play for last or not to play for, the underachieve or anything like that. Nobody thinks that. So we signed a roster. I think our roster was good, man. Like we just didn't mesh well, is what I think. I don't think we meshed well. And I think it's hard because we all have our different personalities. We have our different perspectives on basketball. We have our different skill sets. Like I had avoided Turkey for the longest. I had avoided Turkey because, I didn't, what I saw of Turkey, I don't think my skill set shows there very much.
Now, what do you say that?
Like I said, I think all of these countries have different styles of basketball, right? I say that I fit better in Spain because of the style of basketball. It's very team oriented, high IQ, a lot of ball movement. Everybody can kind of do, everybody's pretty well rounded. Like it's not very one-on-one oriented. You're not gonna have a lot of people just scoring a whole lot of points. It's a league where, if you're solid, you're doing a good job. You're solid, you're doing a good job. And it's like, everybody's playing 20 minutes, 25 minutes, like not too many people are playing more than 30 minutes or 28 minutes. Like, they're playing 12 people. It's a 12-man rotation. So I say that my skill set, the things that I do well, the things that I do pretty good, they fit in more in Spain than I would say they do in Turkey. I think in Turkey, it's more of a, I think it's more high scoring, more offensive, kind of an offensive mindset, scoring mindset, right? So, like I think that my skill set is not that. I'm not trying to go out and score 20 points every game. Like from my perspective and what I've seen is that, like that's in the places that I want to play, that might not be so highly valued is what I would say. I'm not trying, I don't want to play 35 minutes. Maybe at the time, maybe I did, but man, I don't see how I can play 35 minutes every game and give you my best. Like, man, that's just me, But like I said, this is my perspective on basketball. This is, my skill sets, what is best for me. It's not going to be the same as what's best for the next guy. So, I think as a professional, we're always trying to find a situation where we can blow up our strengths and minimize our weaknesses, right? I think this is the best efficiency for you to, have the best career. Your positives, blow them up, your negatives, hide them as best as you can. And, playing in leagues that are more suitable for me, that's a better decision. And, like I said, when in Turkey, I had avoided Turkey a lot because, I'm not a one-on-one player, right? Like I've heard before that, some coaches say, oh, well, you play one-on-one or something like that. I can beat my man off the dribble because I'm fast, but my mindset is not to come down court and to break my man down one-on-one. Like, it's not my mindset. It's not my skill set. So I had a hard time in Turkey. And what I envision as, good numbers, in Turkey, that's not the case. In Turkey, those are bad numbers, right? So you say I come to Spain and I average 10 and 5. I averaged 10 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. I had a good season. I had a very good season, with 10, 5, and 5, and you make the playoffs, that's very good. If you go to Turkey and you average 10, 5, and 5 as the starting point guard, I think it looks bad. Unless you're, if you play for Ephes or you play for Fenerbahce, y'all are winning, okay, cool. But when you're averaging that and y'all are losing, it's like, man, that's no good. My personal opinion, that's no good. And, my experience will tell me that it's no good because I took a major hit the next year financially.
But you do wind up going to Spain the next year, at least in part, and then you wind up going to Partizan in Serbia. So take us through what that next year was like in terms of where you started out in Spain and what led to going to Partizan for the rest of the season.
So I went back to Spain. I had a tough time. I know Spain is, for me. I went back to Spain and, Spain was for me. I got in a situation where, like we had our team was put together nicely. I had a coach that trusted me. He put the ball in my hands and, I'm back in Spain. I can do the things that I'm good at. And, that's it, man. It happened. That's the way it happened. I played well. The team, we were playing well. We were overachieving. We were, I think maybe we might have been 6. We might have been 6. We were looking at qualifying for the Copa del Rey. So it was a big deal, man. Like we were playing well. And, I would say that I was the leader of that team. I was the point guard. The ball was in my hands. I had some other players that, we meshed well together. And, so I ended up leaving there because Partizan came and bought me out of my contract.
And
they came and bought me out of my contract. I was playing well, and I guess they needed a point guard, and I was one of their options, so they bought me out of my contract.
And that leads to a period of time at Partizan where you finished the season as the Serbian Cup MVP and the Serbian Cup winner. What was that experience like winning in 2019 with Partizan?
Nice, man. That was nice. Like we played the Cup. I think the Cup was probably maybe in February. I think the Cup was probably in February, and Partizan and Red Star, big, huge rivalry. And we played those guys in the championship, and we came out on top. And I had I guess I had a solid game where I was the MVP of the cup. So that was big, man.
I like the
that's
modesty
always
there,
big.
by the way. I guess I had a big game and I was MVP. That's some modest stuff right there.
I mean, hey, I'm I would like to say that I'm a pretty modest person. Hey man, I've seen the bads, I've seen the goods, man. And, I always kind of believe that you can never, don't get too far ahead of yourself, man. Don't celebrate yourself too much and stuff like that, because, you are that close to being on the other side of things. You're that close. And when you're on the other side of things, what are you going to say then? So, I like to try to stay pretty even about this, because you can be high, you can be low. And I feel like if you do that, man, I feel like this profession, I feel like it'll drive you nuts, man, if you're like that. So I try to be pretty even keel about everything. And, I accept the goods, just like I'm going to accept the bads. And, I try to push forward, man. So, that's just my mindset, man. That's what I try to focus on doing at all times.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit off the pod about this too. Your next stop is going to be with Zenit in St. Petersburg. You were a teammate again with another friend of the pod, Will Thomas. What was that experience like playing in EuroLeague and playing against playing with Will?
I love Will, man. Will's a great dude, man. Me and Will, we would go out to eat after the games. We always went out to eat to the same restaurant. So I enjoy playing with Will, man. Quiet guy, man, but hilarious guy. Man, he's so quiet, man. And, I always like to see, when I'm saying stuff about Will, people like, Will, man, that guy seems mean. And it's like, no, man, you have no idea, man. That dude is cool, man. I love Will, man. I talk to Will every now and then. I check in on Will and holler at him. But man, great guy, man. I enjoy playing with him, man. I played against him. I played against him in Spain, of course. We played against each other, and to be on the team with him, man, he used to kill us too, man. He would, like I say, you get in Spain and you see a guy that can, he can do a little bit of everything. He's posting you, he's picking and popping. Now he's killing you from three. He's rebounding, he's running the court. Man, every time we played him, man, he torched us constantly, man. And you would look, you might look at him and say, oh, well, he's not doing much. And you look at the stats and it's like, man, that dude just like silently killed us, man. And you had no idea. And it's like, no, he's not shooting a lot, but he's 5 for 6. He's 6 for 8. He knocked down 3. He was 3 for 3 from threes, and it's like, man, he got 8 boards. It's like he got a few assists. It's like, man, that dude really killed you, but you had no idea. So, I love playing with Will, man. Great dude, great player. And, he's amazing career. I
want to take you to your current spot in Liga ACB. Your tweet a few weeks ago was interesting, and I'll probably have to wind up reposting it with the video just to see what the fan level of support was like, where you guys, frankly aren't having the best season as a team, and yet you guys have a lot of support. If you could kind of take us through what that's like playing in Spain and having that level of fan support, what that's like.
I mean, amazing, man. That was how we got in touch, man. Because I remember posting, man, I think at that time we were 4-11. We were dead last. We're not dead last anymore now. We were dead last then. We were 4-11. We had a game at home. It's like, man, we're going through it. We're losing. Man, coaching changes, player changes, like everything, pressure, big time pressure to try to find a way to get a win. And it's like, man, we're going through all this stuff, and man, we have a home game, and you look up in the crowd and we got 9,000 people up there. It's like, man, I've been in Europe for a long time. That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works, man. When you win, more people come. When you lose, less people come. That's the way it works. When you're losing and losing and losing and losing, you get to a point where barely anybody's coming. So for me to look up in those stands and see that there's 9,000 people in there in the middle of COVID on a Saturday night, a late Saturday night, it's like, man, you can't explain that. That's not the norm. That's not the norm. So, like I'm not very active on social media, and like my Twitter, like I don't post very much on Twitter. I like to say that, I post when it's something that I just can't not post about. And that was one of those moments. It was like, man, there's no way I can not post about that. That is absolutely special. And, 95% of players that play overseas are not experiencing that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just, no matter where you are, that's almost unheard of. So,
hey, man, I'm telling you, to be 4-11 and still we got the most, I don't know factual numbers. For sure, we had the most fans in the ACB at our games, 100%. And I'm saying that we just got out of last place recently. So to be able to say that, it's not happening. It's not happening. It's
unreal.
not happening. And this is, I played on some teams where they say you have the best fans here. And what, one of those teams, absolutely true. They'll know who I'm talking about, the team that's true for. But Burgos is up there, man. Burgos is up there 100%. And nobody would expect that. But Burgos is up there.
Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Very interesting.
And you're talking about at the games, people cheering and staying the whole game and fighting for and cheering on their team and fighting for the win all the way, man, all the way. Like granted, I've heard some whistles. I have heard some whistles, and I think I've probably posted about that also. But hey, man, as a basketball player, when you last, I kind of expect whistles. You see all the stuff that like big stories right now that Russell Westbrook is going through with LA when they're not having the success that they want to have or that they're expected to have. Like, man, we know this as basketball players that, man, it gets rough, man. It gets rough when you're not winning, But like I said, for us to be losing and be last and to see those stands like that, you can't replicate that, man.
Alex, thanks so much for joining us. It was a pleasure. Definitely a lot to go over in your 13-year, hopefully plus career. Thanks so much for joining us on Expat Hoops.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me, man. I enjoyed my time, and we'll have to do this again.
Oh, I agree.